All right, everybody. Good afternoon. And I know I said earlier today that I was going to be done with the head coach conversation for a little bit until something actually happened because I felt like I had basically exhausted it. But I do want to take one video to talk about this. This obviously isn't a head coaching situation that we're dealing with when we discuss this, but it could be attached to a head coach. And I know that this is also a few days old already, and a lot of people have already talked about it. But I want to go into this a little bit because I didn't have the opportunity to go into it when it was hot news, like hot off the presses, because I was so busy with the head coaching stuff that I didn't have time to make a video about this. But this is definitely worth at least a discussion. So there have been some sources lately across the NFL that are indicating that Chip Kelly, former Oregon head coach, UCLA head coach, Philadelphia Eagles head coach, and San Francisco 49ers head coach, may return to the NFL. He would probably return to the NFL as an offensive coordinator, and there is some expectation of him coming in a package deal with Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. So basically, the implication is that any team that gets Dan Quinn as a head coach is also going to get Chip Kelly as the offensive coordinator, which I don't know what the relationship is between those two. To my knowledge, they've never been on the same coaching staff before. So I don't know why they're a package deal. But obviously, it doesn't have to play out that way. It could be a situation where Chip Kelly comes to the NFL as an offensive coordinator with Mike McDonald or Patrick Graham or some other defensive guy. Obviously, it would have to be a defensive guy because an offensive guy is not going to want to give the whole offense to Chip Kelly, and Chip Kelly wants the whole offense. But this is an interesting angle. This is a really interesting thought process that I think adds a dimension to hiring a defensive minded head coach because this is kind of like the Arthur Smith thing in that Chip Kelly's previous attempts at being an NFL head coach went pretty poorly. So, therefore, it seems entirely possible that he would not get another opportunity to be an NFL head coach anytime soon. So, you know, you would have him for a long period of time if you wanted him. That's kind of like what I said with the Arthur Smith thing. But is this something that we as Seahawks fans should be interested in on the face of it? That is, having Chip Kelly in any capacity as an OC. So, I want to talk about this because I have a little bit of a weakness for Chip Kelly. I love what he does. I think what he does is brilliant. I know it hasn't worked as well recently, but he has had success at UCLA. He did put together some very successful teams at UCLA. They weren't successful in the way that Oregon was successful, but that's more of a question of resources, I think. And while he did leave the NFL as a little bit of a laughing stock, I think that some people forget just how good some of the stuff he did in the NFL really was. Not the San Fran stuff. The San Fran stuff was bad, but he was also basically just a 1 year caretaker and was given no real opportunity to succeed there. So here's what I'm going to say about Chip Kelly. He does things to offense that is very hard to find anywhere in terms of replicating it. There are a lot of offenses that borrow concepts from Chip Kelly, but the way Chip Kelly does things offensively is just absolutely out of pocket. And I'm going to say this right now. I would have a tremendous amount of fun if Chip Kelly was the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks in any capacity. Now, the key word there is fun, right? Chip Kelly's offense would be fun. Chip Kelly's offense would be completely different from what we're used to. It would be unique. It would be interesting. But would it actually result in a lot of wins? Would it actually result in winning championships? That I wonder about because there are things in Chip Kelly's offense that make it hard to win because you're going to tire your players out. You are. You're going to run way too many plays. You're going to run plays very quickly. and you're going to be in situations where it's week 8, it's week, I'm not even going to say week 18, it's week 15, it's week 16, and your players just have nothing left because Chip Kelly's run them into the ground all year in his crazy offense. And it also kind of hangs your defense out to dry because the offense goes so quickly, the defense doesn't have a lot of opportunities to rest. So when you're talking about taking on the full Chip Kelly package, it is tough, admittedly. However, I don't want to whitewash over Chip Kelly's success, not just at the college level. Like, obviously, Oregon went great. Obviously, UCLA went great. But in college football, you have things you can do that you can't do in the NFL. You can rotate, you can have a much deeper roster where you can rotate players in and out so they don't get as tired. That's one thing that he did great at Oregon. And you can kind of get around the problem of your players wearing out. But let's look at the NFL stuff too. So, Chip Kelly's first season in the NFL, he was the Philadelphia Eagles head coach. He took over a team that was atrocious the previous year. They had a bottom 4 offense and a bottom 4 defense. Obviously, he made some changes. Obviously, some things got switched up. But in one offseason, he took that offense and made them the 4th best offense in the league in scoring. Number 4 in scoring in the entire NFL. So Chip Kelly took an offense that did add some stuff, but you look at the roster, you look at some of the players he had to work with. You had Nick Foles, who looked like an MVP candidate in 2013, by the way, and outside of 2 playoff games many years later, never replicated this kind of success again. You had Michael Vick, 33-year-old Michael Vick, almost washed up Michael Vick. Those were his quarterbacks. Now, he did have LaShawn McCoy, he did have Deshaun Jackson, he had some talent on offense, but look at some of these guys that he got top production out of. Riley Cooper had almost 1,000 yards. He would be out of the NFL not too long after this. Jason Avant, barely remember him. He had Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is good. This was young Zach Ertz. Brent Selleck, he didn't last too long. So it wasn't like he had an abundance of talent that he was able to bring in 2013 and just dominate everybody just on the strength of, oh, our players are better than yours. He did something very right in 2013. And then in 2014, kind of the same thing. 3rd in scoring, almost 30 points a game for the Eagles offense. And again, I'm looking at his players. Nick Foles, who crashed back to earth hard in 2014, and Mark Sanchez. Those were his 2 quarterbacks this year. Nick Foles, Mark Sanchez, and you've got a top 3 scoring offense. And again, he's got some good players. You've got still LaShawn McCoy, but you lost Deshaun Jackson. You've got Darren Sproles. He's a nice gadget player. Jeremy Maclin, Jordan Matthews, Riley Cooper again, Brent Selleck. A lot of guys who didn't really ever achieve the kind of success they had in 2014 and 2013 again after they separated from Chip Kelly. 2015, the wheels come off. Still an above average offense, by the way. 13th out of 32 NFL offenses in scoring, still above average. And again, he's got Sam Bradford and Mark Sanchez, so he still hasn't had a really good quarterback. He's had maybe 1 or 2 quarterbacks that are okay overall, but Sam Bradford is another guy who was never really a great quarterback anywhere. And if anything, I think the talent of his skill position players on offense was just getting worse. If you take a look at this crop, I'm not that impressed. I'm not seeing anything that he should be able to coast on easily. So there's some stuff with Chip Kelly that I really like. His offense is unique. It's different from anything we've seen in Seattle in a long time. It throws things at defenses that they really cannot handle, and it would be tremendously entertaining. So I'm going to say this. If this is the way it goes down, Chip Kelly comes with some defensive-minded head coach. Again, Dan Quinn is the named one, but it could be Patrick Graham, could be Vrabel, could be McDonald, whoever. Then I'm at least going to be, you're going to have my attention. Again, there are things that make it not so great. You can't rotate players in the NFL the way you do in college. You can't do all the things that you do in college in the NFL because the talent disparity is not as big. And we've seen his offense have crash and burn moments. Even in the NFL when he was successful, those 2 seasons when things were good, there were moments where everything just kind of fell out. But the body of work was really good. Straight up, Chip Kelly, the coach, was pretty good. He was in Philadelphia. Chip Kelly, the head coach, was pretty good. Chip Kelly, the general manager, was atrocious, but we don't have to worry about that. He's not even going to be the head coach here. We just need him to be an offensive coordinator. And I don't know. This would be fun. I don't know if it would result in championships. I don't know if that style of offense is going to get you through 3 or 4 playoff wins, but I wouldn't mind finding out. I wouldn't mind trying to find out the hard way. I would not mind seeing it in Seattle. And if we have an uninspiring head coaching hire, like Patrick Graham, like even a guy like Aviro, who I do like, or a guy like the Bengals defensive coordinator, if we hired somebody like that, somebody that would just make everybody go, ugh. But that defensive-minded head coach that we're underwhelmed by would come with Chip Kelly, that's different. I'm at least paying attention. I'm at least like, I want to see how this ends. Even though I know it could be a glorious, glorious disaster. By the way, if you're going to fail, fail big. Go get Chip Kelly, because if it fails, you're probably going to win like 3 games. Okay? And if that happens, at least you're getting a top pick. Don't fail and win 7 games. Okay? That's just boring. Fail epically if you're going to fail. That's what I'm going to say about the downside, because there is significant downside. So what do you guys think? Let me know down below. Chip Kelly, offensive coordinator. Are you in? Are you out? Or are you somewhere in the middle? See you guys later. More videos coming. Go Hawks, and let me know.